Dormitory Room 205. Ha is a second-year student at a university in the city. In order to save money, she decided to move into a dormitory. Her room was assigned to room 205, a room that seemed normal like any other. From the first day she moved in, Ha felt something strange. This room always had a light scent, like the scent of jasmine, but it wasn't. She asked her roommates and they said it was always like that here. During the day, the room was not scary. But every midnight, Ha felt like someone was watching her. The curtains, even though they were closed, still moved slightly as if someone was standing outside blowing in. One night, Ha woke up with a start because she heard a rattling sound in the corner of the room. In the dim light from the night light, she saw a small wooden chair slowly moving. At first, she thought she was seeing things or a mouse had run through. But when she was about to go back to sleep, she suddenly realized something scary. The door was locked from the inside, there was no way the wind could get in. A chill ran down her spine. She pulled the blanket over her head, trying to calm herself down. The next morning, she told this story to her roommates, but everyone shook their heads and said they had never seen anything strange. That night, while the whole room was studying, a friend suddenly sighed. "I wondered if anyone had lived here before us." Someone spoke up. "I heard that a few years ago, there was a female student named Lynn who lived in this room. One night, she had a high fever but no one discovered it in time. By the time her roommates came back, she was gone." Suddenly, the room became eerily silent. Ha shivered. She felt like something was wrong. That night, she had another strange dream. In the dream, she saw a girl wearing a white dress, her long hair covering most of her face. The girl stood in front of the window, quietly turned her head and looked at her with sad eyes. Ha jumped up, her heart pounding. The girl in the dream was exactly like the person in the small altar photo at the end of the hallway. From that day on, every night, Ha felt a cold wind blowing through, even though the window was tightly closed. The wooden chair shook slightly, as if someone was sitting on it. But strangely, no matter how scary it was, Ha no longer felt as scared as before. She realized that, perhaps, that girl had never meant to harm anyone, it was just that she still had lingering feelings for this place. From then on, every night before going to bed, Ha always placed a chair neatly in the corner of the room, as if to reserve it for some invisible guest. Hi everyone, I am the storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to sleep, so before that please like the video and subscribe to the channel. Where are you from and what time are you watching now? Relax and unwind. I never thought I would be afraid of a man in a helmet, but here I am hunched over behind the curtains in my living room. My heart is pounding as I watch him circle my house like a vulture staring at its prey. It all started out like a normal Tuesday. I was working from home burying my head in spreadsheets and conference calls when a flash of yellow light caught my eye. Glancing out the window, I saw a man in a utility worker uniform standing on the sidewalk holding a clipboard. He seemed to be inspecting the houses on our street, taking notes as he walked. I didn't think much of it at first. Utility workers are a common sight in the neighborhood, always checking meters, trimming trees, stay away from the power lines, but as the day went on I noticed he was still there, lingering longer than necessary. Mid-afternoon my curiosity turned to restlessness. The man had been out there for hours. His attention was focused solely on my house. I watched him pace back and forth, scribbling furiously on his clipboard. Occasionally he stopped to stare at my window as if trying to see inside. I double-checked the calendar on my fridge. No, I hadn't forgotten any maintenance schedules we hadn't reported. Nothing was wrong, so why was he focused on our property? As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across my front lawn, I decided to confront him. I stepped outside, plastered a friendly smile. "Can I help you?" I called. The man's head suddenly looking up. Eyes met mine for a moment. He looked startled as if he hadn't expected anyone to be home, then his face softened into a smile. "Smile blandly, just doing a routine check, ma'am," he answered. His voice was odd. Nothing to worry about, but there was a lot to worry about when he spoke to me. Noticed his uniform didn't fit right, sleeves too short, pants too loose, and no company logo on his hat or shirt, just plain yellow fabric. "What company did he say he worked for?" I asked, trying to keep his voice calm. He hesitated a bit. Long City Utilities, he mumbled, then turned away wishing the lady a good evening. I watched him walk away. My skin crawled. Something was very wrong. I went back inside, locked the door and called the utility company because I doubted they had sent anyone to our neighborhood. In fact, they had no record of any scheduled work in our area at all. Panic rose in my throat as I hung up. Who was this man and what did he want? I looked out the window again hoping he had disappeared, but there he was at the end of my driveway staring at my house with tension. It made my blood run cold. I called the police. My fingers were shaking as I dialed. The dispatcher assured me they would send someone out to check it out, but it might take a while. Apparently there had been a major collision on the freeway and most of the cops were tied up with that, so I waited and watched the sky darken. The street lights flickered on. The man was still a creepy silhouette in the gathering darkness. He had dropped all pretense of working now, no longer bothered with his clipboard. He just stood there watching, waiting. I made sure every door and window was locked. All the curtains were zipped up except for a small crack I could see through. My phone was clutched in my sweaty palm. 911 ready to call at any moment. Hours passed. The street became quiet as my neighbors settled in for the night, unaware of the silent confrontation happening outside. I didn't unable to take my eyes off him, afraid that if I looked away for even a second he would act. It was almost midnight when he finally did. I had just glanced at my phone to check for updates from the police when I heard a light scratching sound coming from the side of the house. My heart jumped into my throat when I realized he was no longer standing in the driveway, his hand clutching the heavy desk lamp like a makeshift weapon. I crept towards the noise coming from the guest bedroom, the only room I had forgotten to check the windows for. Before, as I approached, I could hear the subtle sound of someone working at the lock. I pressed myself against the wall next to the door. The lamp was raised, ready to turn. The scratching had stopped, replaced by the gentle sound of the window being pushed open, a cool night breeze. The air brushed my face as the window opened.